On this day in 1965, Celtic won the first trophy of the glorious Jock Stein era. The spring of 1965 saw a wave of optimism washing over Celtic as Bob Kelly finally relinquished control of the playing side of the club and Jock Stein, former Celtic captain and the hottest managerial property in the game, returned to take charge. His first match ended in a 6-0 win over Ergionians at Broomfield, but form since then had been wildly inconsistent, and that optimism was beginning ever so slightly to ebb. The win at Broomfield was followed by a 1-0 defeat at home to St Johnstone, and the 4-0 win over Hibernian at Easter Road on the 7th of April only avenged a 4-2 defeat at Celtic Park against the same opponents on the 22nd of March. On the 14th of April, Celtic crashed to a 6-2 defeat to Falkirk at Brockville, and the Saturday before the cup final they had lost 2-1 at home to Partick Thistle. Dunfermline were favourites to win at Hampden, and it wasn't difficult to see why. After describing Dunfermline as perhaps the most disciplined team in Scotland, Raymond Jacobs wrote in the Glasgow Herald on the morning of the match, "Celtic have players more valuable to them than others. One thinks, for example, of McNeil, Hughes and Chalmers. Yet the unreliability of the team as a whole casts doubt on their being able to end a drought which has brought no major trophy to the club's sideboard for 7 years. There is a long and proud history of achievement behind Celtic. This will be their 30th cup final and they have won the trophy 17 times. They will have tradition and the majority of the spectators behind them, but Celtic's anxiety, now amounting almost to desperation to end the lean years, should not, however purposeful its application, knock Dunfermline out of their well-ordered stride." Unlike in Celtic's previous 4 Scottish Cup final appearances, when Bob Kelly had gambled with what can best be described as eccentric team changes in the build-up, Jock Stein demonstrated he was firmly in charge by naming his team early in the week and facing down the chairman's intervention. Tom Campbell and Pat Woods write in Dreams and Songs to Sing, A New History of Celtic. When the Celtic chairman learned that Bobby Murdoch, who had been spotted by him when playing in a public park as a schoolboy, would be fielded at right half in the Scottish Cup final, and protested by growling that the player was an inside forward, Jock Stein's response was both pointed and polite. Well, you'll see on Saturday what he is. The sun was shining on the afternoon of the final, but the wind was swirling strongly around Hampden's vast bowl and blowing towards the traditional Celtic end. Winning the toss, Billy McNeil elected to attack that goal in the first half as Celtic lined up Fallon, Young, Gemmell, Murdoch, McNeil, Clark, Chalmers, Gallagher, Hughes, Lennox, Auld. Celtic attacked from the start and came close through Bertie Auld and John Hughes in the first quarter hour, but Dunfermline, with future Celtic player Tom Callaghan lining up alongside his brother and Scotland international fullback Willie, remained composed and took the lead on 16 minutes. Ger Henderson reported in the Evening Times of the 24th of April, "But in the 16th minute, against the run of play and the wind, Dunfermline scored, and a neat and cleverly planned goal it was. From a throw-in on their right touchline, Thompson lobbed the ball forward and Melrose, taking a pass from Sinclair, hooked the ball into the roof of the Celtic net." The goal settled Dunfermline and they began to play their usual methodical game, while Celtic's attack became increasingly frenetic but showed no signs of making a breakthrough. Ger Henderson reported, "Dunfermline, after a laborious start, were now playing football of the kind that beat Rangers, using the open space and the quick attack on the wings to great effect." A Tommy Gemmell shot bounced off keeper Jim Herriott, and after a stramash on the 6-yard line it was booted clear, as Celtic became increasingly frustrated. But they pulled level after half an hour. Raymond Jacobs wrote in the Glasgow Herald of the 26th of April 1965, "Then in 31 minutes, Gallagher was allowed to advance to 25 yards out, from where he lashed a shot against the crossbar. The ball rose high in the air and Herriott, hopelessly beaten by the original shot, could not climb off his back quickly enough to get to it before Auld out-jumped Lunn and headed home amid a tangle of net and bodies. Celtic passed up a glorious chance to go ahead when Bobby Murdoch sent Bobby Lennox through on goal, but he squared across the face of goal instead of shooting, and with no Celtic forwards near at hand, the ball ran harmlessly wide. It was Dunfermline who took the lead again 3 minutes from half-time through centre-forward John McLaughlin. Ger Henderson reported, 20 yards out, Ian Young swept the feet from Sinclair and Melrose tapped the free kick 2 yards to his right to the waiting McLaughlin. The centre-forward took careful aim and hit a shot of tremendous power straight to the right-hand corner of Fallon's goal. It could have been a hammer blow to Celtic's hopes, with Dunfermline going in ahead at the break and the wind behind them in the second half. But Jock Stein's words to Bob Kelly were borne out. Raymond Jacobs reporting in the Glasgow Herald. It soon became clear, however, that Celtic were not going to allow this stunning setback to take the wind out of their sails. Murdoch and Chalmers forced themselves into the game, took it by the scruff of the neck and dragged it Celtic's way, emerging as they did so their side's heroes of the hour, along of course with Auld and McNeil. It was Auld who once again dragged Celtic level, Raymond Jacobs continuing, in 52 minutes, a fine interpassing movement between Lennox and Auld ended with a cross from the inside forward being shot home by the winger from the inside right position, and from that moment on, Dunfermline's play deteriorated to the most disappointing level I have seen from them this season. There was still time for a couple of scares, John Fallon making a spectacular save from an Alex Edwards shot that looked like heading for the top corner, and John Clark on the line diverting a Jackie Sinclair shot off the bar with his knee. But Celtic piled on the pressure and finally got the goal they needed 9 minutes from the end from a corner kick. Rex, in the Sunday Mail of the 25th of April 1965, reported, "Top of the pops to Celtic fans today is skipper Billy McNeil, king of the road and all that jazz." The Icicle man, who had dominated his own goal area most of the game, decided to dominate Dunfermline's goal area 10 minutes from the end with the score 2-2. Lounging innocently around the centre arc while Charlie Gallagher was setting the ball for a corner kick, he suddenly spurted forward like a guy trying to grab the platform rail of the last bus. By the time he'd raced all of 20 yards, the ball was flighting over into goal with the Fifers line-up ready for the usual head clearance. But they were caught flat-footed as the powerful McNeil, at full momentum, brushed past two on the 18-yard rim, then took off to meet that ball square on the brow and head hammer into the roof of the net. 7 long years' worth of pent-up frustration was released in explosions of joy as McNeil's header hit the net and at the final whistle. Rex reported in the Sunday Mail, "We watched the deliriously happy Celtic followers go hoarse in sheer unbroken delight. Watched assistant manager Sean Fallon, trainer Bob Rooney and assistant trainer Neil Mochan dash onto the field when the musical sound of referee Hugh Phillips' whistle signalled full time and kiss and hug the heroes. I've rarely seen such mad scenes of unfettered emotion." It was a first major trophy for Celtic in 7 years. Their first Scottish Cup win in 11 years, and it was the day that kick-started the greatest era in Celtic's history. Ger Henderson wrote in the Evening Times of the 26th of April 1965, "Celtic's great victory in the Cup final on Saturday has opened up a vast new horizon for manager Jock Stein, the players of Parkhead and the army of Celtic supporters." How vast that horizon would turn out to be could surely never have been expected in April of 1965.